let's go now to our module, and we'll be having like a 1 hour of presentation, 1 hour and a half, then we shall have a break, and then we will be back. Normally, road profile studies or road profile information are very important as far as route surveying is concerned. Because when we talk of a route or route surveying, normally profiles or road profiles are the key elements which define, of course, they define the route. So if you have a particular route, you need to have the profiles. So in this unit, we are going to discuss several points. Here are, of course, broken down. We shall start by the types of road profiles that exist for engineering application or engineering use. Then later on, we shall look at the elements, the key elements of the road profiles. We'll be also looking at the dimensions and details of the road profiles. What I can inform you is that the dimensions and the details of the road profiles generally are set up by the design standards or the design manuals. The dimensions that I'm going to give you here, some will be based on what we call American Association of Transportation Highway Official, AASHTO. And then also we shall also look at the what the Rwanda Transport Development Agency in Rwanda establishes as the some dimensions, because you cannot make a road profiles dimensions if you are not referring to any standard. So there is a need of having a manual or a standard so that it can guide us throughout the design. We are going also to look at the considerations that we are basing on when the road design profiles are under study. We'll be looking also on topographic road profile elements, civil engineering road profile elements. I shall share with you some of the drawings here so that you can have a look at them. And then we shall discuss later on about the routes location. How do we define the routes so that we can have good profiles? And then how now can we trace, or how can we make a good alignment, what used to call the tracing of the route or route tracing. So these are our points of discussion of today. And if time allows us, we can cover it within the given time. So I welcome all of you to this online class of today, and I wish you to follow properly. At the end of this session or in the middle, I will be sharing with you an attendance sheet where you will be filling your information so that I can keep your attendance online. Because we know that some people, they just join, then after sometimes they disappear from the computer. I don't know. They just put it on, then they go away. So please pay attention. Try to attend as much as you can. First of all, let us start with the road cross-section profile. You remember in this slide, we are talking about the types of road profiles. In a practice or in engineering design, as far as route surveying is concerned, there exist only two types of road profiles. One of the road profile, which is very common, is what you call cross-section profile. A cross-section profile is a profile that is, of course, made up of various elements along the width of the road. You know, when you have a road, there is the width of the road. So those elements of the roads of the cross-section profile are of course there to describe its parts, and they include of course like a traffic lane, sidewalk, greening, utility, drainage, lighting. These are the common cross-section profile elements that we used to see even here in Rwanda, in Kigali. So a cross-section, if someone asks you what is a road cross-section profile, simply you just tell him that a road cross-section profile is a section which will be showing elements of the road but perpendicularly. So it means it is along the width of the road. It is along the width. It means from one edge of the road to another edge of the road. So of course, the road cross-section profile, they may differ depending on the design standards and the countries. In Rwanda, our road cross-section profile, they have what we call the traffic lane. Traffic lane is where the vehicles are passing. And they're having the sidewalks. Either you can have one sidewalk and then another one is used for maybe drainage. Then you can also sometimes, if you look at these new roads which are under construction within the whole city of Kigali, uh, we are having a greening part, just like a gardening. And then you have also another space which is reserved for utility. Utility means like electrical cables, water pipes, telecommunication cables like internet, fiber optics, etc. And then we can also have a small space reserved for lighting. For we need to have some lights on our roads for visibility and for security of the people walking, for example, during the evening time. So a road cross-section profile is a road element which is of course perpendicular to the length of the road and defines the elements from one edge to another edge of the road. In some other countries, you may have a road cross-section profile that has, for example, like a motor lane or cycle lane. I think in Gatsata in Rwanda, even here nearby our university campus, near Serena Hotel, near Marriott Hotel, we have some the cross-section that has a cycle lane. But surprisingly, our people do not use it. And you find that the bicycles, they are just moving on the lane reserved for the vehicles. Normally, that should not be the case. Another type of um, road profile is what we call longitudinal profile. Road longitudinal. If we say longitudinal, this means it is along the length. Along the length. You see, a road longitudinal profile, it is the road element that is defined to, of course, to describe the elements of the road along the length of the road. So it is from the start to the end of the road. Whereas the road cross-sectional profile, it is defining the elements of the road from, of course, along the width. You see, it is along the width, whereas this one is along the length. So the longitudinal profile is very, very, very important um, for route surveying because it is the one which helps to make a good design based on the ground reduced levels. And the longitudinal profile, of course, will help us to have the information along the length of the road at regular distances. So with the longitudinal profile, we can have various points along the length of the rod. And then those points, of course, will be helping us, for example, to have the information about the gradient, slope, and some of the places where it is relatively flat. So even on the road cross-section profile, you can have slopes and gradients, but here, longitudinal profile, it is where the length, it is where the slopes and the gradients are very, very, very important and where they are highly shown. Maybe a good point and a good question that I can ask you is to tell me, for example, um, what is the difference maybe between gradient and the slope as far as the longitudinal profile is concerned? Uh, when when we talk of this, generally a slope, it means you slope down. In engineering point of understanding, we always slope down. So meaning that when we say a slope, it means you are originating from the higher point going to the lower point. So that is defined as a slope, and it is expressed in a percentage. Then when you say about gradient, this means that you are starting from the lower point going to the higher point. So gradient originates from the lower to the higher. A longitudinal profile will be made up of a series of points representing, of course, the reduced levels of ground points at regular distances, and the information between those points can be the slopes, gradients, elevations, distances, etc. So, briefly speaking, that is what is a rod longitudinal profile. Are you together, class? Yes, I hope we are together. Now, let us have a look. Let us have a look at this. This is a cross section. This is a cross section. This is a cross section profile. You can see this cross section profile here that we have. It is, of course, describing the rod along its width. So it describes the rod along its width. So you can see, for example, here we are having a drainage, as I have said. You can have a lot of elements along the cross-section profile. For example, this cross-section has the drainage here. It has a walkway, footpath here. We have a greening part here. This is a traffic lane. The traffic lane. This is the median. And this median strip is at the same time used as a place where we are putting the lighting, and also there are some greening you can see. You see? Then you have another traffic lane here. Then you have another greening here. Then you have another walkway. Then here we have an embankment. So you can see, for example, this typical cross-section that we have here is one is a two-way, but with four lane, meaning that two vehicles are going in the same direction. So you can see these vehicles here on the left side. If we are trying to look in front, this is my left side, and I think you also it is the same. This is the right side. From the left side, these vehicles are coming in front. These are going away. So this cross section, this typical cross section, can be known as a two-way four-lane or four-lane two-way cross-section. As you can see, On a cross-section profile, there are a lot of information. Generally, we can have the information about the sloping. For example, here you can see this lane here is sloping by 2.5%. So this is for the drainage purpose. Even this walkway, you can see it is sloping by 1.5%, meaning that water can continue in the camp and then reach this ditch. We have also different other elements that you are going to see later on. But please, you have to make sure that all these cross-section elements are properly designed and are having the dimensions which are meeting the standard. For example, if you try to look, you can see 22 meters here. This is what you call a right of way, ROW. This is 22 meters. So it is the total width of the road cross section. Uh, of course, this is based on some standard. Uh, for example, here, this is one of the cross section which has been used in Rwanda. I don't mention the road because it is confidential, but you can see, for example, this traffic lane is 70 meters. So meaning that each vehicle is having around 3.5 meters for space. Then you can see, for example, this greening, it is a 1 meter width. This sidewalk for the people, it is around 1.5 meter. The ditch is covering around 80 meters, sorry, 80 centimeters, so 0.8. And then this side ditch here is 0.5 meter or 50 centimeters. Um, of course, what is on this slide here, I have tried to go through on the diagram that I have shown you previously. So maybe I'll be required to go back and show you on the previous slide. So what now here we want to highlight, what are the elements of the cross section? What are the major elements? So we're saying here the major elements. You have seen from the previous slide that a cross section should of course have what you call traffic lane. Traffic lane means it is the passage of vehicles. It is the space reserved for cars to move. And the traffic lane generally is determined or is established based on the design speed, design traffic, and design manual. Then another key element, because this what I'm talking about here are the key elements, the important elements of the road cross section. So the first one is the traffic lane. Okay? Traffic lane, it is where the vehicles are passing. If you try to see them here, so so this is the cross section actually. This is the view of the cross section. Then another key element of the road cross section is the walkway. Sometimes we call them footpath or walking space or pedestrian space. Okay. In urban area, for example, even in a rural area, roads are not only constructed for vehicles because we have a lot of categories of users. Users may be drivers, may be pedestrians, even maybe uh, other things which needs to move from one point to another one, because transportation is to help and assist people uh, displacement from one point to another one. So walkway is also another key important road cross section, which is very much under consideration in nowadays construction industry as far as roads are concerned. So it varies from 1 up to 3 meters. So you remember our traffic lane there, this varies between three. Normally, if the smallest traffic lane in Rwanda, which is acceptable, cannot to go below 3 meters width. Then we have also what we call hard shoulder. Hard shoulder. You try to look on these roads in the rural area when you go out of Kigali. For example, if you go to Muhanga, if you go to Musanze, let us say you are just climbing near Shirongi, you see you have the traffic lane, two traffic lane. So is someone is making noise. Who is that? Is he welding? Niyongira. Okay, maybe he has switched off. So if you make noise, sometimes it disturbs me. Okay. I was saying, for example, if you try to look at this road which goes to Musanze from Munyabugogo going up to, is it Shirongi, I think. The road there, you can see we don't have a footpath, but you're having another space which is on the side of the road. So that space which is on the side of the road is what you call hard shoulder. So you can see beyond that continuous painted the white line. And normally that space can be used for people to move and also can be used for emergency stopping. Emergency stopping. It is also provided in Rwanda Transport Development Agency Design Manual. In Rwanda, we have a design manual which is dating 2014, and I think is no longer drafted. I think I should delete this one. And we can also use ASHTO, American Association, State Highway for Transportation Official. And then we can also have the other manuals like a Tanzania Design Manual, like I think there is now under East African Design Manual, which will also define the elements of the cross section. We can also have some other design manual, Euro code, depending on the country. Also, another key element of the cross section is the green space. You know, this in this world of today, we don't want our towns or our roads to just be like structures without provision of or protection of the environment. So we need sometimes to green the land. We need to try to reduce the CO2 emission from the engines of the vehicles. That's why, for example, we have electrical vehicles. But the green space is also there for the environmental purpose. Normally in Rwanda, by the REMA guidelines, a green or greening is generally 1 meter width. You try to look around when you go outside the cross-section elements that we have in Kigali. Another key element of the road cross-section is the drainage facilities. We have also another, this is for carrying water, on the road's traffic lane. On a traffic lane, water will be flowing and then it has to be drained out. So it's through the drainage. So drainage facilities is one also the key elements. Another key element of the road cross-section is the utility space. These are the guidelines by the city of Kigali and by the Ministry of Infrastructure, Mininfra, and right by Mininfra. Mininfra is our Ministry of Infrastructure, of Infrastructure in Rwanda. Mininfra, Ministry of Infrastructure. So we need always to provide a utility space. Then also this time you also have to provide like a motorbike and a cycle lane. But sometimes we may not provide this one because of the, land scarcity. Rwanda, sometimes we are facing the issue with the availability of land for road construction. Sometimes we need to pay people to relocate people around if you want to expand, and that is very expensive. So Sometimes you may find some places we don't have motorbike or cycle lane, a space reserved for piki for motorcycles or for bicycles, amagari. So you don't have that space for amagari. I hope that you have understood. So now you can maybe briefly, if you, I urge you, when I'm teaching and discussing, it is better you can take just a sheet of paper and then you'll be noting down what is very important. Are you together, class? Um, for example, you can highlight saying that normally we have around like seven key elements of the road cross section. Seven. Those are the seven key elements. So first is the traffic lane. Two is the walkway. Three is the hard shoulder. Four is the greening. Five is the drainage. Six is the utility. And then seven is about the bicycle or motor lane. So those are the key elements of the road cross section that you as a engineers to be you have to keep it in your mind. If someone asks you what are the key elements of the road cross sections, you should be able at least to tell them at least five. But if you can tell them all of them, that is good. Very nice. Now let us look on the elements for the longitudinal profile. So longitudinal profile elements. You remember the longitudinal profile, I have said that a longitudinal profile is there to provide the information along the length of the road, starting from one end to another end. So from its start to its end, generally through what you call the center line. Center line means you are passing through the middle of the road from the start to the end. So the key elements of the longitudinal profile, first, there are what we call topo elements or topographic elements. Then there are other elements that we classify as civil engineering elements. Then there are some other elements that we call geometrical elements, just like design elements. So topo elements means it's a distance along the points, between the points along the center line. Then you have the cumulative distances. Then you have the gradients, slopes. All these are what you call the topographic elements of the profile. Then we have also some other civil engineering elements. Normally, for a road, when we are describing a longitudinal profile, we shall see a diagram. This one includes, for example, the road layer, the thicknesses of layers, the pipe culverts, the bridges, the geological information. Those are the civil elements. Then we have also the other elements like curves, vertical curves. You're going up, sag, going down. When you say a crest, you're going up. When you say sag, you're going down. So these are the key elements of the longitudinal profile. So what you have to note down is for a longitudinal profile, we differentiate three major elements: topo elements, civil engineering elements, and geometrical elements. In the topo elements, we have distances, then you have gradients and slopes, of course, and then you have the heights, the reduced levels, the elevations. Then the civil engineering elements, you have the thickness of the road, you have the culverts, pipes, then have some geological data. Then the geometrical elements that you can have is about like a curves and some other alignment, crest and the sag curves. You can ask me a good question. You can ask me a good question. Just a, just a moment. I'm going to plug my laptop. Just a moment. Just 1 minute. Okay. Uh, you are saying that I was saying about the elements of Rotino profile, and my question was about the I have said the topo elements, civil engineering elements, and then geometrical elements. Now the good question is to know that uh, uh, what are the how do we establish the dimensions? How do we establish the size? Normally, the size and dimensions they all depend. The main key guide uh, as far as the elements of any cross section are concerned is speed. Design is the design is speed will be required. So, for example, in the Rwanda Transport Development Agency has established some design speeds, and some design, of course, uh, for example, if you try 40, 60, and 80, these are the design speed, but having a design speed of 80 kilometers, it is very difficult for Rwanda because of the mountainous area that we have. Generally, our designs are in the range of 40 up to 60 kilometers per hour. Of course, when we are designing, for designing for the road cross section, or we are designing for the road longitudinal profile, there are some considerations that we use. There are some considerations that we have to take into account, and some of the key some of the key considerations are the maybe the information about the existing precipitation area, the traffic which is available. The more the traffic is high, the more the number of lane will be increased. Maybe the more so the structure design, maybe the thickness will be increased. We have also to look on the environmental factors. Is it in an urban area? Is it a rural area? We have also to look on the existing utilities, and also have to take into account also the terrain. Is it a hilly, rolling, mountainous? I think this is mountainous, or is it a flat terrain? There are some consideration of calling the places flat, the places mountainous, the places rolling. Most of Rwanda falls under rolling and mountainous because of our country of 1,000 years. And also the precipitation that we have in Rwanda. That's why don't be surprised. You may reach some countries and you find that they have got roads with the cross sections where there is no drainage. Maybe it's just raining once in a year, and then just they let water to flow around, and then It is finished. So they cannot waste money for investing in the construction of drainage. But for us here in Rwanda, because sometimes you have heavy rains, if we don't pay attention with the drainage, our roads will be washed away. So, so I think the topo elements I have already said also. The topo elements in general is about elevation, distance, gradients, and slopes. Gradients, I have said, gradient means it is from down to top. Slopes is from up to down. For example, in Rwanda, we can have like a 3-meter lane or traffic lane of 3.5. Civil engineering elements, I think I've said, like slabs, bricks. Those are the elements that you can find on the cross section. Then this is another typical cross section, but which is not on the same level. This is a cross section whereby this lane is up and this one is down. You see, and you have a retaining wall here. Can you see? This can be like the situation that we have. Maybe if you look at the road of from the city center roundabout going to Nyabugogo. Just at the exit of the roundabout of the center going to Nyabugogo, passing at Muhima, we have one road which is down, another road which is up. They are separated by the retaining wall. We have also in the similar situation, for example, if you look at the road in Kichukiro, nearby Sonatib, is it Sonatib? Yes, Sonatib, going to Remera, is it? There's a place we used to call Gudia. Normally, because of not knowing English, our local people used to call it Guduya. Guduya. That place is, we are having such scenario of the cross section. So you can see on the road cross section, a lot of elements are there. Here, for example, they are showing us a facing wall, for example, like a retaining wall, to prevent some falling materials to come in the ditch. And then we are having also this one. I think this is a footpath. This is a green. This is a lane. You see, this is a traffic lane. This is another traffic lane, and so on. This is a center line. You can see when you look on the cross section itself. For example, this one has a pavement. You can see the retaining wall. A lot of details are there. For example, this is the center line. This one here. You can see at this, because this what you can see here is what you call a curb in Kenya. In local, we used to call it I think bordure. Bordure is in French. Yeah, this is a curb, and you have two curbs. One bordure here and another bordure here. This is a curb. I think this space here, this is for greening. This is for greening, and this is for people to move. This is a walkway. So this is a traffic lane, okay? This is a greening, this is a walkway, this is the ditch. So from the cross-section elements of a road, we can have a lot of information. For example, from the center here, going here, you can see we have the distance. So D is 8.5 meters, for example, up to here. Then you have the elevation of this point. Then from here up to here, this is it. 90.5. Here it's 90.5, meaning the distance in between it is just 1 meter. You see, so the road cross section, that's why I have said it should have a lot of information in terms of a distance. Those are what you call topographic elements. So on this diagram that I'm showing you here is giving us the information about topographic elements. And this one here was trying to give us the information about civil engineering elements. For example, like traffic lane, curbs, drainage, you see, a lot, something like that. So this is the same. This is another type of road cross section. This plan view is it trying to show us the plan view of a road section where we have a longitudinal profile. The longitudinal profile is passing through here. Through here. This is the longitudinal profile. It is along the length. You can see. So, for example, if you look here, you can see here you have a pipe culvert. This is a culvert to drain water. This is another pipe culvert to drain water here. You see? And then here I've got some nearby houses. So you can see, so you have the changes, PCC4, and so on. The elements of a road profile. Now let's previously I was talking about the elements of a road profile for for the for the cross section. Now I won't talk about the elements of a profile, but for a longitudinal profile. This is for a longitudinal profile. Let me highlight it now for a longitudinal profile. So the same manner, for this, we have also the slope, the gradient also. So they will be telling us about the rise and about the fall per unit length. That's why we express the gradient and slope in percentage, for example, like a 3%. Then we make sure that the slope or the gradient should be useful. And then maybe we have got some limiting values, or we may even have some exceptional gradients. We have some exceptional gradients, for example, in Kigali here. I can note, for example, I think maybe some of you have been, there are two cases that we have in Kigali. If you try to look at Rebero, there is a roundabout. There is a roundabout in Gikondo, down going to Rebero, going to what the place which is known as Olympia. That road which goes up there, the gradient is very high. The same situation we have it also at a place which is commonly known as Norvège. When you go to Nyamirambo down to Kigali sector, Norvège also those are exceptional gradients. When the elements of original profile, it's not only limited to the gradients or slope, but also on the curves. You can have vertical curves, which are crests, convex, and the sag, which are concave. So these are used when rising gradient meets a falling one, and then this is used when a falling gradient meets a rising one. Then also we have what you call the grade line. The grade line is a line a design line representing the road elevation, along its length. Then you have got some stations, changes. I think on that previous image that I've shown you. Then you have the ground line. This, of course, it shows us the natural surface of the ground. So these are the key elements of the longitudinal profile. So there is slope, gradients, there are curves, grades, and I think this one also, previously we discussed it somewhere. This one, elements for, this one for, for, I'm looking, this one. So For example, if you try to look on the elements of the cross-section profile, I think this one you have already discussed. It's just if I don't spend much time, but maybe there are some key. I remember I talked to you about 7 elements, and then maybe we can also add some other. There are some other which are additional, like the camber, the camber, which is at the center to provide for drainage purpose. This carriageway, uh, this carriageway is the same as the traffic lane. Shoulders, hard shoulders, we have already talked about these ones. Yeah, all others we have already discussed. So no need of coming back to this because I have already discussed in the previous slide. Now let's look on the dimensions and details of road profiles. After this one, after dimensions and the details of road profiles, we shall have a break. We shall have a break of 15 meters. Then also I can take a glass of water because I am talking like in a studio. So dimensions and details of road profiles. What I can tell you is that dimensions, they all go hand in hand with what you call the design standard or the design manual. For example, in Rwanda, we have our own design manual, which is known as which has been produced by the Rwanda Transport Development Agency in 2014. We can also sometimes apply the ASHTO design manual in some cases where we don't have information. In some other countries, like in India, they have got their own design manual. In China, they have got. In Gabon, I think maybe they're using a French design manual. In Congo, I think they're using also Belgian design manual. You see, so all of these dimensions, the dimensions that I'm giving you here, are the dimensions which are generally based on the ASHTO and the RTDA. For example, for RTDA dimensions, um, normally in Rwanda, for the channel profile, when we talk of the vertical alignment, of course, it is the lengthwise, it's along the length. The gradients, the slope are expressed, of course, in a percentage. Okay. We say that in highways, we can have the gradient or slope between 3 up to 5%, maximum up to 70%. In urban roads, we can have also this range. But here in Rwanda, for example, I think if I try to recall in my memory of what we have in Irebero, that climbing from the roundabout down to Olympia, I think it is above 615. It is above 15. That is exceptional. But here you can see they are saying the exceptionality should be 15%. Can you imagine so if the gradient is too much, of course it has some negative effects. Some heavy vehicles like trucks and the, and, the, and these commercial vehicles, we are talking about trucks, these whole trucks maybe for construction. It is difficult for them to move, and they consume a lot of fuel, you know. So, but we have to cope. That's why sometimes when you are dealing with the route alignment, we have to make sure that at least we minimize the gradients or slope. So the longitudinal profiles generally it should vary maybe between 0.5% up to 15% in Rwanda. I'm saying in Rwanda. You cannot have a longitudinal profile where the gradient is 0%. No, that is impossible. If it is 0%, means water rainfall that we are facing in Rwanda will not be moving. And then you are facing a problem of having a water stagnant on some portions of the road. and that will damage, of course, the pavement of the road. So these ranges should be uh, respected as per the Rwanda Transport Development Agency. But also sometimes if there is a special case, we should find a way forward. Okay. So these are dimensions in terms of, because for original profile, the dimensions generally is about gradients, slope, and the expression and expressing them in percentage. Then also we have also curves. Uh, Curves used to between the gradients and for visibility and for comfort. Uh, so these curves also there are some guidelines about the length of the curve. In Rwanda, high-speed highways you can have from 150 up to 300 meters curves. Let me try to separate them. Then you can also have the minimum slope. I think you have already said it's 0.5%. Otherwise, when it rains, our roads will be full of water. That's what I want you to highlight. Then another thing is before we go to our break, maybe if I come back here, it does also try to highlight this two things which are very important: the gradients and then the range of gradients. The range of gradients. For highways, what are the example of highways that we have in Rwanda, for example? For example, if we try to consider this road from Sonatibe through Gahanga going to Bugesera, that is a highway. That is a highway, one of the highway that we have. Other roads that we have in the city of Kigali are urban roads. And then some other mountainous roads, for example, going to Karongi, going to Rusizi, going to Musanze. Those are mountainous roads because you can experience this amount of gradient. So now this is our last slide that I want to talk about, and then we shall go for our break. Let me try to make it more clear so that you understand what I mean. You know, the cross-section profile, now you're talking about the dimensions because we are talking about the key dimensions. The carriageway. Carriageway, this is like a traffic lane. Traffic lane. So there are things that you have to consider for carriageway. Normally, you remember I've said to you that the standard dimension is 3 meters per lane, the minimum that we can accommodate in Rwanda. These roads, like this road going to from Kanogo, going to Remera, Prince House, this road from which road else? I think that is the major one that we have. Yeah. This road also from the city center roundabout going down to Nyabugogo. That road has got I remember, has got a 3.75 meter per lane. So these are dimensions which are standardized by our design manual in Rwanda. But the minimum that we can have is a 3. If someone tells you that you can have can we have a width of lane which is like a 2.5 meters? That is very difficult. That's very difficult. So, and then maybe the local or the streets, you can have 2.75. But these roads here, it is one way. One way means it is what used to call scenic. Otherwise, people will be colliding. So this is something that we have to take care of about the carriageway. And then about the carriageway also, we have to take care about the camber. The camber is let me try to show you what is the camber. I think I have a slide where you can see the camber. Yeah, maybe like this road. Normally, if this was actually a camber is the highest point here, which will be separating the drainage. This highest point. This is what we call the camber on the road. If you have also like, let me show you. Um, no, no, this is just a drainage is one side. Normally, a camber is helping to drain from two sides. There are some roads that you have in Rwanda which are one way. No, no, not on one way. Those roads are a two lane, two way. You understand what I mean? Two lane, two way. Two lane, two way, meaning that two vehicles can overtake. Like this road of, let us say, Avenue Porcis. This car N, is it car N? This road, which is just below our campus, this road which goes to Bidyogo, nearby, if you can see Einstein building, if you can see this Agachiro building, the road which is down near the embassy of Vatican. You see that road. You see, we have got two lane, and the vehicles can go on both sides. But you can see in the center there is a provision of something which allows water from one lane to go on one side and another lane for going another side. So that's provision of that elevated element is what you call a camber. It is cross slope. So normally for a flexible pavement, you can provide up to 3%. Concrete pavements like these roads of Rusororo, I think Rusororo, when you go to the cemetery, Rusororo, it is in Gasabo. We have also we have some concrete pavement roads. So generally the slope should be very gentle. And then earth roads, these are roads made up of laterite, the soil in the rural area. So class, let us have a break. Let us have a break, and we will be back at 10:45. We'll be back at 10:45.